All right. Good evening, everyone. It is May 23rd. I'm going to call to order this regular City Council meeting at 7 p.m. And if you are able, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So thank you. Now we'll move on to the open forum. I have 2 cards right now. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak that hasn't filled a card out? If so, Mr. Swanson is back there and he can help you with a card. So, all right. If you would like to call into open forum, you can dial 1-415-655-0001 and use webinar access code 2633-626-2586 and the password 1234. So is there anyone that was calling in at this point?
Mayor Supple, there is not.
All right. So I'm going to address the people that are here in the room. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting. And a few reminders about open forum. Please sign in and state your name and address for the record when you're speaking. And I'll start timing after you've stated your name and address, and you'll have about 3 minutes. And we want to provide a safe platform to state our opinions about municipal policies, so please stick to issues. This is not a forum to discuss individuals. The council will be listening and taking notes, but we will not be responding to the comments. This open forum is designed to hear from you and not to be a debate. So thank you. The first person that I have a card for is Randy Olson. So if you would like to come up and greet and tell us your name and, all right.
My name is Randy Olson. I live in Plymouth, South and Urbandale Lane, Plymouth. But I'm a member of Ridgefield band for years. So I'm here. Bringing up the talk to talk a little bit about an upcoming concert with band show. There's a couple of reasons why. Also many one people is the celebration of composers who immigrated to America. Celebration of how those composers influenced American music. It will feature Noah Rutman, the winner of the 20. Noah is a high school senior. Share number 1, and it's a very demanding piece that he here in Ridgefield. The Ridgefield Symphonic Band was started in 1979, originally sponsored by the Ridgefield American Legion. We rehearse on Tuesday nights at the high school, and this year we celebrate our 44th year in making music. Area. To enter the contest, students videotape themselves choosing finalists. Moeller from from Ridgefield High School who are runners-up. First place received $1,000, and each of the runner-ups received $500. So the concert is Tuesday. The band will also be performing at the band show and August 15th. congratulations to Noah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker is Kathleen Balaban. Oh. Oh, I thought they put one up there. Okay. Well, I have it written down on these cards, so we'll use that. So, thank you for your patience. I- Can we take one of the other microphones? All right, thank you.
Yeah, we could.
So, I don't know, do you have to unplug something?
No, we have to keep it plugged in. Yep. Here's a new open forum.
I'd like to get close to you guys.
All right.
Oh, absolutely. My name is Kathleen Balaban, and I live at 6526 Stevens Avenue South. And I did go out. I lost it once, and so I had to order it again. I came back today in the mail. It's the Standard Code of Parliamentary Procedures, you know, the Hoyle book of the game. So I got it because I needed to find out how you guys work and what you do and how you do it. We have a problem in our commissions, and the reason we have a problem is it states right in here about the documentation and the detail in our minutes by the commissions. We don't have it. I go look at the minutes. I'm an ADA person. I don't see any documentation. There is nothing to back up the presentations. There's nothing, absolutely nothing for me to learn when I look at the minutes. Videos, yes, because I can hear you, but documentation, absolutely not. We are remiss in our parliamentary rules. So I would like to see those minutes and the backup in there. In addition, my newspaper is back there, but as you know, the Sun Current produces their newspaper early, okay? It comes to the City Hall on a Tuesday, today, but it's dated Thursday. And in that documentation, and I have copies at home, is there were notices in the paper sitting on the table back there while you were trying to approve something. In other words, you were led and fed. It was already in the paper, so the decision was made before you even made a decision. So I would like you to rethink that, talk about who makes those decisions to print this, and to make sure that they are not printed and in possession of the City Hall prior to your approval. So please, let's do the proper documentation. Then now, going back to the commissions real quickly, we don't teach them how to represent me. The attorney teaches them on the legalities. The staff teaches them on the how-tos. They're going to run the meeting. And I do mean how they're going to run the meeting. So we are led and fed. They're not representing me. I want us to start teaching them how to ask questions, and let them know that they rule, they represent me, not the staff, and teach them how to be good commissioners. So no more leading and feeding. Last but not least, I read in today's newspaper, we have a problem. and it's in our Human Resources Department. How can we terminate somebody's employment without doing due diligence? Every supervisor, no matter what position, anybody that manages people should have the proper training on how to evaluate performance and how to terminate an agreement. We did not do that according to this article, and I know I don't believe everything I read and see. So there's something in here that may not be written, but why did it get this far? So let's look at our internal controls. Let's look at how we teach our supervisors how to manage people. And please get the documentation for my commissioners so that I can read it. Thank you very much for all that you do. Personally, I don't think you get paid enough, but thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else that has called in?
Mayor Supple, there is not.
All right. And is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak? If you could go to the microphone, and since is there a paper up there to sign in now, since I don't have a card for you? All right. And you'll want to come up to the microphone that's working. Ruane, you want to come to the microphone that's working.
Ruane Onesi Rosa, 2421. You can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
West 65th Street. She was just talking about salaries for commissioners, council members. And I remember when I was running for city council, the stipend was less than $9,000 a year. It seems to me that there's an incredible rapport between the council members and the staff, insofar as there's 100% almost every time of approval of anything that they give you. I certainly, if I were on the council, I would ask a few more questions. I would want to know this and that or the other thing in public forum, because of course you cannot telephone one another. You cannot meet one another. You cannot internet one another. So I don't understand how you can always 100% approval of everything that comes in here. Where, when, and how do you form a consensus so readily? And my question is, and I would like to know, when and if you are now receiving salaries and benefits, when did your stipends become salaries and benefits? And how much does each of you receive as a salary and a benefit? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? And Ruane, since you didn't fill out a card, can you please write down your name and address on the paper? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for the open forum? It looks like Councilmember Whalen's going to get you the thing. Thank you. All right, anyone else? So then I guess we will close out the open forum and we'll move on to approval of the minutes of the City Council work session of May 9th, 2023 and the City Council meeting of May 9th, 2023.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any corrections or discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to the presentation of the Food Safety Awards. City Manager Rodriguez. Are we having more microphone issues?
Sorry. Jennifer Anderson will make the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Annually, since 2006, the Richfield Advisory Board of Health has acknowledged excellence in food safety by giving out awards in two different categories. The first is for the full-service restaurant, and the second is the fast food, pizza, and carryout. These awards have not been given out since 2019 due to the pandemic, so it's exciting that we're back here tonight to do this. A team of food collaborative members nominate 3 to 4 establishments in each category based on food collaborative interviews and then the actual inspection results. So nominees are judged on how they manage risk factors on a daily basis, how the establishment encouraged workers to be continually motivated about serving safe food, whether they can list the 5 critical factors that affect food safety, what is their policy when an employee shows up for work who's obviously sick, and so forth. So those results are scored and then sent to the Advisory Board of Health. They review the scores and select the winners. So tonight, the full-service restaurant is the category is, it's an actual sit-down restaurant. So you're seated, you get service at your table. For the fast food, pizza, carry-out, that's more of a quick service style restaurant. You can get in, get out. You can sit, but you're not going to get service by someone at your table. So the nominees in the full-service restaurants were Devani's at 6345 Penn Avenue and Giordano's at 3000 West 66th Street. And Giordano's took the award. So Eric, if you want to come up. Eric Holland is the manager. And we'll get a picture.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you.
Can I say something? And Eric Holland from the Giordano's at 3000 West 66th Street. Just want to address the council that your food service industry here in Richfield is one of the best in the cities. I've had other restaurants in other municipalities, and I think it's just something to be proud of on how well they do here. So thank you.
Congratulations.
And the nominees in the fast food pizza carryout were Five Guys at 1844 East 66th Street and Panda Express at 1638 East 66th Street and Panda Express 1. So Sarah Locke Hanna is here this evening from Panda Express to receive this award.
Hi, this is Lilak Hannah. I work for Panda Express, and on behalf of my associates in Panda Express and Richfield locations, I would like to say thank you so much to be honored to be here, and I will be moving forward to commit to making a food safety in a priority job from other company. Thank you so much to be up here.
Congratulations. And then you had mentioned pictures. Did they want to do pictures in here or out in the lobby? Okay, cool. And congratulations again to both of our winners. All right, next we'll move on to approval of the agenda.
I'd move the approval of the agenda.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? All right, all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We've approved the agenda. Next, we'll move on to the consent calendar. City Manager Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. The consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and recommended actions have also been approved. No further council action on these items is necessary. On tonight's consent calendar, item A, consider approval of a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license for an event scheduled to take place June 10th, 2023 at Fred Babcock, VFW number 5555, located at 6715 Lakeshore Drive. Item B, consider approval of a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license for events scheduled to take place July 3rd and 4th, 2023 at Fred Babcock, VFW number 555, located at 6715 Lakeshore Drive. Item C, consider approval of a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license for the Academy of Holy Angels, located at 6600 Nicollet Avenue South, for their annual Rock the Lawn event, scheduled to take place June 24th, 2023. And item D, consider an appointment to the Advisory Board of Health. And I recommend you consider all these items on the consent calendar tonight.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar?
So move.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the items on the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? I would like to welcome our newest commissioner, Stephanie Maccabee, who's going to be on the Advisory Board of Health, and thank her for her service on the commission. Any other discussions? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we have approved the consent calendar. Next, we will be moving on to consideration of confirmation of the appointment of Kamud Verma to be the Finance Director of the City of Richfield, and I'll turn that over to Councilmember Whalen.
Thank you, Mayor. Kamud Verma started in her role as Finance Manager on May 18th, 2022. She brings over 20 years of experience in accounting, budgeting, municipal bond issuance, technology solutions, and leadership experience to the role. She also has a master's degree in finance and a bachelor's degree in accounting. Ms. Verma has excelled in her leadership of the finance department. She had to quickly learn municipal accounting, operations, and processes. She has regularly improved and updated processes as she learned and will be key in implementing further process and technology upgrades. The city plans a major financial software upgrade in May 2024. She is already an important member of the leadership team and has developed strong professional relationships with colleagues both inside and outside the organization. Her accomplishments are even more impressive given that the department continues to be short-staffed. Ms. Verma's response to the staff shortages demonstrates her strategic problem-solving and innovation. Given the shortage of public finance professionals nationwide, she recently created a student internship position to help with the annual budget and also create a better pipeline of talent to fill current and future needs. Ms. Verma's skill set will also be needed to continue progress on strategic plan initiatives, including better long-term financial planning. The city's success depends on an effective finance department, and Ms. Verma has the technical and leadership skills to strengthen the department so the city can build on a tradition of sound and responsible financial management. Do staff have anything further to say?
Yes, thank you. I just want to say, again, I'm very impressed with Kamud's first year. And I'm really excited to see what she can do when she has a full staff, and I really think she'll excel in this role.
Thank you. I would agree. So I will make the motion that we confirm the appointment of Kamud Verma as Finance Director for the City of Richfield.
I'd second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I just want to say congratulations and thank you. And I agree with everything that's written. We really appreciate your leadership.
I would also like to say congratulations. And there was one line that really stood out to me in what Councilmember Whalen read. It said that you have regularly improved and updated the processes and will be key in implementing further process and technology upgrades. And I have seen that firsthand, and I've been so impressed. So we are very thrilled to have you in this new position. Thank you. Councilmember Whalen.
I'll just add, I've really appreciated that even as in the manager role, not yet being a director, that you've been present for many of the meetings with directors and council, since the finances are so essential to the long-term visioning and planning conversations. And so I'm excited to have you now in this full director role to continue leading us in that way.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Congratulations. Next, we will move on to item 6, which is to consider a request to modify in 2024 and then terminate in 2025 Best Buy's minimum assessment agreement. Councilmember Troutman.
Thank you, Mayor. This request to modify 2024 and then terminate 2025 Best Buy's minimum assessment agreement is a little lengthy, but I'm going to read it because I think there's important context here. The Interchange West Lindale Gateway Tax Increment Financing, or TIF district, was established in 1999, and the district is a, quote, scattered site, end quote, redevelopment district with multiple projects and outstanding obligations, including the Best Buy corporate headquarters, Main Street Village, and the Castile Place townhomes. Best Buy has approached the City and Housing Redevelopment Authority, or HRA, to request a modification to their individual contract, which would move the minimum assessment agreement that prevents a tax value of their property from falling below $118.5 million during the life of the TIF district, ending in December 31, 2025. The minimum assessed agreement, or MAA, is in place for two purposes. One, as part of the contract for private development with Best Buy, the city agreed to issue general obligation bonds to help fund significant infrastructure improvements necessary to handle the traffic of Best Buy's corporate campus. The principal and interest payments on these bonds are made with tax increment generated by the project. The obligation remains outstanding with the final payment due on February 1, 2024. Sufficient increment will be available to make the remaining two payments. The MAA is also in place to provide a mechanism for pooling. Pooling allows the HRA to spend a portion of the tax increment outside the geographical boundaries of the TIF district for TIF-eligible activities, such as affordable housing. A modification or termination of the MAA will not impact the remaining bond payments, but it will likely impact the amount of money contributed to the Housing and Redevelopment Fund. In November of 2022, Best Buy submitted a request for termination of the MAA that's attached. After significant work by HRA staff and the HRA attorney, the HRA financial consultants from Ellers, a work session was held with the council and the HRA in March to discuss the potential impacts to the HRA and Best Buy. At the time, Best Buy proposed a contract amendment that would ensure no loss of revenue to the HRA for pooling for affordable housing, which is estimated to be between $210,000 and $385,000 over the remaining 2 years of the district. Best Buy also requested that the HRA provide an accounting of payments made to Best Buy and pooling over the life of the TIF district. This analysis was ongoing at the time of the work session. However, policymakers made it clear that a global solution to all outstanding issues should be found prior to any request to modify or terminate the MAA. This financial review has now been completed and has revealed that due to the complexities of the district and two successful tax court petitions by Best Buy to reduce their property tax value, the HRA has overpaid Best Buy by approximately $851,000. HRA and city staff have indicated support for a solution that, one, ensures that the Housing and Redevelopment Fund is fully funded at the level anticipated by the MAA, and two, that Best Buy acknowledge that the HRA intends to recoup the identified overpayment by withholding additional available increment received over the last 2 years of the TIF district. Best Buy has submitted the attached letter and legal analysis dated May 12, 2023, disputing the HRA's assertion that they've been overpaid. To resolve the dispute and move forward with their request for modification and termination of the termination, they have proposed that the city and HRA approve their request in exchange for 20% of the actual tax benefit to Best Buy in 2024 and 2025. Staff recommends that the request to subtract Best Buy's legal and appraisal fees to pursue a tax value reduction be rejected out of hand. Therefore, the following analysis does not include a reduction for these costs. If successful in their request for a reduced tax value in 2024 and 2025, the potential payment to the HRA under the proposal is estimated to be between $423,000 and $764,000 cumulative. The HRA and staff financial consultants believe that this would leave the HRA between $472,000 and $638,000 short of full recruitment. If the HRA has advised Best Buy and believes that the approval of the city, school district, and county are required to modify and or terminate the MAA, and the deadline for these approvals is June 30th, 2023. The HRA believes that Best Buy is unlikely to be successful in the request for the 2024 tax year, and that the second scenario, therefore, is more likely. Finally, there is a possibility, though seemingly unlikely, that no reduction in value would be granted, in which case the HRA would continue to receive the anticipated funds for the Housing Redevelopment Authority but would not recoup any overpayment. HRA and city staff, along with the HRA attorney and financial experts, have reviewed the proposal and legal analysis provided. We strongly disagree with the analysis, and a legal response by the HRA attorney is included as an attachment to this report. Based on our analysis, we recommend denial of the request. While Best Buy is an important and valued employer in our community, the contractual agreement in place should be honored unless a, quote, do no harm solution can be found. And thank you for the context, but given that context, I also want to turn it over to staff for any additional context.
Councilmember Troutman, members of the council, I will just reiterate that HRA staff and city staff feel that Best Buy is a very important member of our community. The relationships that has been in place for the last 23 years has been a mutually beneficial one. Both Best Buy and the HRA have been served well by the contract. Looking forward, the pandemic has absolutely changed the landscape of office developments across our region, across the nation, across the world. And we would like to find a solution that could help Best Buy be nimble here. We just aren't recommending a solution in which the HRA would be harmed through that solution. Best Buy has several representatives here tonight to answer your questions, and myself, the HRA attorney, and Jean Vogt from Ehlers are also here if you have additional questions.
Great. Questions? Should we make the motion to discuss?
I believe that would be the proper parliamentary procedure. Thank you.
So I would move we deny a request to modify and or terminate the minimum assessment agreement for Best Buy Corporate Campus at 7601 Penn Avenue South.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, so now we can move on to questions and discussion. Is there anyone who wishes to speak at this point? Councilmember Whalen.
Thank you, Mayor. I greatly appreciate the details here and emails back and forth with staff to further explain. And I will share that I am open to some level of negotiating in good faith, but this to me does not feel even like a meeting halfway offer. That for us to put in all of the extra effort to do this big audit of payments that have happened, find out that we are owed $851,000, a set dollar amount, and be offered in return 20% of a very unknown figure, feels not like a mutually beneficial offer. I also hope that we can continue the conversation. I guess I will speak for myself. I don't have any doubt that the minimum assessment agreement that made sense when it was made, and through several amendments, that because of the impact of the pandemic, because of how many people are working from home, I don't doubt your analysis that your property is not worth that minimum value that it is legally kept at. But again, to find a path forward would have to be something that comes closer to addressing what the original agreement would say the city is receiving. And so I guess that is my comment. I feel like we had a pretty extensive discussion at the work session, and personally don't feel my views have changed, that I'm open to removing the minimum assessment agreement, but that deal has to address the overpayment as well.
All right. Are there other comments or questions? Councilmember Troutman?
Thank you, Mayor. Referring back to the conversation we had during the work session, and maybe there wasn't clarity, and so I'm glad to provide the clarity now. What I meant by a global settlement is that I'm persuaded by our analysis that we're owed $851,000. I'm also delighted to learn that there's an opportunity for us to recoup that money, especially at an opportunity where Best Buy has the opportunity to receive some tax savings, so this doesn't actually come out of Best Buy's bottom line. So anything less than that is not a proposal that I receive in good faith. And so that's where I'm at. I think we have an opportunity to get it all done, but this isn't it. So I would respectfully, as much as I appreciate Best Buy as a denizen, but it's not hard to deny this proposal.
All right. Any other comments or questions? So while I appreciate that Best Buy has done many things for our community, and I'm grateful for that, my first priority is to do my fiduciary duty to the residents of Richfield. And we made it clear as a council back in the work session in March when we talked with Best Buy about this proposal that there should be no financial loss to the HRA through any agreement. And the current proposal does not meet that criterion to do no harm. Therefore, I cannot support their request at this point, because I do think it would be doing harm, and that would not be something that I can do as a fiduciary to the HRA and to the city of Richfield. So at this point, I would be in favor of denying the request. Is there any other comments or questions? Now, this is a bit of an unusual motion because the motion is to deny a request to modify this. So I want to be clear that if you vote yes, you are voting to deny the request. If you vote no, then you're saying we shouldn't deny the request. So is there any further discussion or anything? Did staff have anything they wanted to add? All right, so all in favor of the motion to deny the request to modify?
Mayor Seppel?
Oh, excuse me, yes?
I think maybe the representatives of Best Buy would like to
Oh,
speak.
they wanted to speak. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
yes.
I apologize for that. So go ahead. And is that microphone working, or do we need to come over to the other one?
Test.
Oh, we got it fixed.
S2?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Tracy Smith. I'm an employee of Best Buy, and I'm happy to be here tonight, and thank you for the time. I will tailor my remarks at the end to some of the comments and questions that you made, but I'd like to start off by just reminding everyone, which I think Melissa Paleman said from the beginning, from the start of the development and construction of the Best Buy campus, Best Buy and the city have partnered for their mutual benefit. We built a vibrant corporate campus in Richfield that has served Best Buy, its vendors, and the Richfield community well for over 2 decades. Best Buy wants to highlight the public benefit from the Best Buy portion of the TIF district, which includes almost $12 million in the payment of bonds issued to finance public improvements, and almost $11 million to the HRA to fund its housing initiatives. In addition, Best Buy has made significant charitable contributions to Richfield's nonprofits, schools, and community activities. Today, the unprecedented downsizing and reordering of the Twin Cities office market demands swift action to keep the city's largest commercial office building competitive. The Best Buy office building and the city need to attract new business tenants as workforce dynamics have shifted to remote and hybrid work models. As reported in the Twin Cities press, numerous businesses have recently announced an office downsizing, and many are looking for new space. We therefore need to make changes now to our minimum assessment agreement to reflect market competitive property taxes instead of the arbitrary value that was set over 2 decades ago that far exceeds today's fair market value. Waiting 2.5 years from now until the end of the TIF district to pay property taxes on a fair market value base, we will have missed our opportunity. We'll have missed our window to attract those tenants looking for space right now. At your working session on March 6th, which I attended, the parties appeared to agree that the benefits of Best Buy's request to modify and ultimately terminate the minimum assessment agreement, that those were benefits, so long as the HRA was made whole. Best Buy agreed to make the HRA whole with respect to the consequences of the minimum assessment agreement. And I think Ms. Paleman also acknowledged that in her statement. So there is no dispute about making Richfield whole with respect to the consequences of the minimum assessment agreement. At the working session, we also took direction from the City Council and the HRA, however, to try to address all issues among the parties as a global resolution. Since that March 6th meeting, Best Buy has made at least 2 offers to resolve all issues globally. In each of those offers, Best Buy has compromised its position by offering to accept significantly less than it believes it is entitled to if you apply the legal standards that are at issue. In contrast, the HRA has made no offers and stands firm that it is entitled to 100% of its assertions. The parties have been unable to reach a global resolution of all legal issues. You have in your packet of information both Best Buy's legal position and also the HRA's memo from their outside legal advisor. I don't want to rehash some of that. You all have that in front of you. It won't be productive to detail that here. But I would like to quickly address the concept of the overpayment. The HR's assertion that there is an $851,000 overpayment that arises from errors in calculations over 10 years ago. Best Buy simply doesn't agree that that overpayment was made, and here's why. The HRA currently has withheld 29% of the tax increment. This fact is not disputed. By the end of the district in 2.5 years, the HRA is allowed to spend 25% of the tax increment. Withholding additional funds now, the $851,000, will only increase the 29% that's currently withheld. The solution is not for the HRA to withhold additional money, increasing your withholdings that are already in excess of what you're able to spend in the next 2.5 years. Rather, the solution is to make additional payments pursuant to the PAYGO note to reduce the HRA's withholding to the 25% by the end of the district, which is only 2.5 years away. Otherwise, question, if you end up at a 29%, and you can only spend 25%, 75% is required to be paid on the bonds and to the Best Buy PAYGO note. You got a problem at the end in 2.5 years. You're worsening that problem by claiming there's an overpayment right now. So as we stand right now, we've invested over 10 months in these discussions on how to make that orderly wind down of this TIF district. And we started having these discussions not only on the minimum assessment agreement, but also by substantiating the pooling issue that we started talking about in 2014. And that's some additional payments and additional items that are in your materials. I think Exhibit 3. I'm not sure we appear closer to a global resolution, and we may ultimately agree to disagree on some of those things as we stand here today. The question is whether or not we can get a deal done within the time necessitated to meet the deadlines so we can all benefit from the reduction in property taxes. So right now we have a corporate campus with an assessed value that may be as much as twice its fair market value. That is a significant impediment to attracting new businesses to Best Buy's corporate campus and to our city. The clock is running down in our efforts to do something meaningful for both Best Buy and the city. The time is now. One more. We have one proposal in front of the city. It was the 20%. And I can tell you why the 20% was set. The 20%, all along we've talked about mutual benefits and the fact that we should share in some of this benefit. That's why the 20% was set. The 20% was intended to be larger than the make whole that we set originally, the 200,000 to 400,000 that we talked about. But it was to be less than the total of the make whole and the overpayment that is alleged. That again, we don't in any way, form agree that there's been an overpayment. So that's what that 20% is, somewhere in between. That's where we're saying that there's a compromise. The other point that is my background is there's always things that, please don't take this as a threat, as litigation hazards in my world of tax that I deal with in dealing with tax authorities. Litigation hazards is always set at 20%, saying if you end up in front of a court, you're always kind of throwing the dice up in the air a little bit to a 20%. So that's another really generic boundary. And in this case, it worked for both. And so that's where we came to the table and said, you know what, 20% gives them more than the make whole. And so even though we don't agree that there's an overpayment for the reasons I talked about, and we can get into more detail there, it gives you more than that. And there's a middle ground. And that's where we were trying in good faith. You know, when you're trying to negotiate that global resolution, if both parties stand their ground and demand 100% compensation, they'll never find the middle. So, as such, Best Buy today asks the City Council to approve our request to modify and ultimately terminate the minimum assessment agreement, either on the 20% basis that's in writing or on a standalone basis. The standalone basis, Best Buy would reconfirm that it will make the HRA whole by ensuring no loss of revenue to the HRA for affordable housing as a result of any assessed valuation changes. The parties are in agreement that this make whole amount is estimated to be in the range of $200,000 to $400,000. There is absolutely no downside to the HRA to today approve the standalone request where we are standing behind our statement that we will make you whole. And as discussed previously, there is a substantial upside to the city by helping to make the cost structure competitive for businesses that we hope to attract to Richfield and to Best Buy's corporate campus. We need to act now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any other questions for our Best Buy representatives? Councilmember Whalen.
I have questions for staff, I guess.
Oh, okay, yeah. You can go ahead and sit down and we'll call you back up. I also had questions for staff, but we'll go ahead. Councilmember Whalen, you can go first.
I believe the last comment there was effectively offering to split the two discussions of the minimum assessment agreement and this overpayment. My understanding is that if we were to approve the eventual removal of the minimum assessment agreement and the make whole provision that they are offering, that we would lose our ability to recoup the overpayment amount if we were to resolve just the MAA portion?
Councilmember Whalen, I'm asking HRA Attorney Julie Eddington to join me here. But as we discussed, or as Julie discussed in her memo, the HRA believes that we have the ability to recoup that money regardless, that we're actually obligated by law to do so because it's been an improper use of TIF funds. So the City Council and HRA could consider discussing the minimum assessment on its own and then go ahead and move to recoup through the outstanding TIF payments over the next couple of years. The idea behind a global solution is that we would like everyone to acknowledge that this has happened, so that we can take care of everything and not try to recoup that money and have Best Buy and have us end up in possible litigation or right. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Did you have any other questions? Councilmember Troutman?
Thank you. I just wanted to just say appreciation for the comments and also an appreciation and a frustration with Best Buy. Appreciation for there are a lot of ways that Best Buy's participated in community that they didn't mention. If we were to mention all of them, we'd be here a while. But this week, the Rise and Remember George Floyd Memorial Conference is going to be at the Best Buy headquarters, and we really appreciate them making their space available. And there are a lot of ways that they've participated with our schools. Structurally, historically, that building stands as a strategic error. It isolated itself from the Richfield community in very concrete structural ways. It had a vision to hermetically seal the corporate campus away from our community. And now that's revealed itself to be an unstrategic move, both financially and communally. And now we think we have an opportunity to turn the page, not just with this, in the grand scheme of things, relatively small. It's significant for both sides. I want to recognize that, but it's not as significant as how we show up as neighbors in the next generation or two. And I really hope that it's with Best Buy as our corporate campus, as our corporate partner. But regardless of that, we live with the legacy of the Best Buy campus. That campus will be us and be part of us for generations. That being said, I just want to be really clear, because it sounds like there just was not clarity last time. There's a tax savings opportunity. We've asked for a forensic audit, and if there's a reason why we're not moving on that number, it's because there's nothing in the forensic audit or anything that I've read to say that we should move, and I don't feel like I'd be voting in good conscience if we did move. I appreciate the analysis that an offer. Maybe I'm not sure if I understood that, but the cost for Best Buy in litigation is roughly 20%, and so offering that 20% to us to mitigate your litigation risk, certainly we don't want to. That's the last thing we want to be in with our neighbor. But I hope that in the next several weeks we can come to an agreement. But it doesn't. Nothing here changes my analysis. So thank you.
Are there other comments or questions? I had a question for the HRA attorney Eddington. There was mention of the fact that this district is made up of 3 parts. And when I was reading through the information from you, it talked about that was part of the reason why it's not really fair to say we've paid 29% to Best Buy. So can you explain that and add context, because that's one of the areas of dispute. So if you could go over that, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, thank you for giving me that opportunity. So the contract itself was done in 1999, 2000. The contract originally was done in 1999 to 2000. So all of us were not here doing that work at that time. I went through all of the contracts and all of the amendments that we have, and the contract changed the way TIF was paid to Best Buy and the HRA 4 times over the life of the contract. In the beginning, the contract gave the HRA an amount through a table. They were guessing as to what the TIF would be like. And so the HRA in the early years got a lot of TIF that they saved and kept. And then when the TIF note was provided to Best Buy, the way TIF was provided to the HRA and to the Best Buy changed again. It changed 2 more times after that. So there are numerous changes in the way TIF was paid over time in the contract. And that is how the HRA had funds in their possession, TIF funds, that were legally theirs under the contract for many, many years. So it would be helpful if, if Best Buy looked closely at the original contract and all the amendments, and those clearly show how TIF was parsed out between the 2 parties over the last 23 years. And in any event, so that's sort of my start to the discussion. The contract itself, we have followed. We've gone back and we have followed exactly what the contract provides each time that the division of TIF was changed. So that's rock solid. And so I just wanted to point that out. And what was your original question? I'm sorry.
So the Best Buy representative was saying that we had taken in over 29%, but it was my understanding from reading the materials that were provided to us ahead of time that the 29% refers to all 3 parts of the TIF district and not just to the Best Buy portion, and that has bearing on the matter. So if you could address that part of the situation.
In development contracts, you can split out the TIF any way you want. I have clients who only give 25% of the TIF. I have clients that do 97% of the TIF, and anywhere in between. So the contract is really what provides the path for who gets TIF and when and in what amount. And the 25% that we're talking about is a rule where the HRA can only expend 25%. It doesn't mean that they can't collect more than that. They can collect as much as they want. And in fact, some of the money they got in the early days was used to put into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund through some legislation that I helped them with. That's completely legal. It was their money pursuant to the contract, and that money went to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and that's perfectly acceptable. The 25% currently for the entire district has been met. They have not expended, the HRA has not expended more than 25% of their TIF, unless it was pursuant to the legislation that they received, which is perfectly acceptable.
I believe Councilmember Troutman has another question for you.
Actually, it's a non-question, just an observation. Just for folks that are watching, you're not quite our lawyer, almost our lawyer. You're the HRA's attorney. We have Mary Tejan here, our counsel, and so we're not sitting here as judges, even though it kind of looks like that because we're on the dais. But you're our legal counsel, and so I appreciate your legal counsel, and I want us to have all our questions, but I also am maybe hesitant to have too many legal conversations, even though nothing what we're saying is privileged. Just because I'm comfortable with your legal analysis, and I really appreciate it. And I hope we still have an opportunity to keep this conversation going. We can reach a resolution with Best Buy, but if I just thought for folks that are watching, not to interpret my not asking questions, not that I'm incurious, but just that I appreciate your counsel and the role that's not always public that people don't see.
Thank you. And my point in asking the question was just that both sides of the argument were in the staff packet, but only one of them was presented here. So I wanted to make sure both sides were presented. Community Development Director Paleman.
Mayor Supple, members of the council, just to add to Julie's comments, the 29%, to clarify, just kind of synthesize it down to two sentences. The 29% that is being referenced in terms of statute is actually irrelevant. And I don't think that I'm overstating that. I'll look at our financial advisor there. The 29% that is being referred to is strictly related to the Best Buy portion of this district. And one of the first sentences in your packet is that this is a scattered site district with 3 projects. That 25% applies to the entirety of the district. The 29% related to Best Buy is irrelevant.
All right. Are there other questions? Councilmember Whalen?
I would just, if my memory is serving me correctly, and I'm maybe about to ask staff to also remember off the top of their head some numbers, but isn't the projected potential tax savings if the minimum assessment agreement is removed and they were successful yet by that June deadline, wasn't it that Best Buy could stand to save up to $2 million in tax savings or somewhere in that ballpark?
It's not working right now. It was before.
Councilmember Whalen, members of the council, there was a range of values provided, but at the maximum where the anticipated value would drop by nearly 50%, the 2-year tax savings to Best Buy was estimated to be about $2.4 million.
Okay. And I, again, don't disagree with Best Buy's claim that they are currently valued at higher than market value because of this agreement, and that everything you're saying about bringing in people to the office space makes sense. I guess it really comes down to the dispute over an overpayment, but Best Buy would still save money, potentially up to $1.4 million in 2 years if this was just acknowledged and paid. And so I guess to me that feels less like a negotiation, knowing that we are not asking for nearly the amount that you could stand to save, and believe that I trust all of our various staff who have helped to establish the nature of the overpayment and the amounts. Yeah.
All right. Are there further questions, further discussions?
Nope.
All right. So again, The motion on the floor is to deny a request to modify and/or terminate the minimum assessment agreement for the Best Buy corporate campus at 7601 Penn Avenue South. So if you are voting in favor, you are voting to deny the request. And if you are voting no, then you are voting not to deny the request. So all in favor of denying the request to modify and/or terminate the minimum assessment agreement for the Best Buy corporate campus at 7601 Penn Avenue South, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We have denied the current request, and I hope the conversation will continue. Moving on. Let's see. Moving on. We will move to the city manager's report, and thank you for everyone that spoke during the last item. So we'll go on to City Manager Rodriguez. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I think my most important announcement tonight is tomorrow we have the equipment and we start the AV upgrades in the chambers. So definitely needed. I also wanted to respond to an open forum comment from the last meeting. Kathleen Balaban spoke and wanted commissioner contact information and also to put pictures on the website. We are putting on a fillable form. It should be out late this week for the chairs of the commissions. The names in the commissions are already out there. We will provide further contact information if asked. And also, this is similar to other cities. We did do some research on this. We will also add pictures, group photos of the commissions. We think that's a great idea as we have time to upgrade the website. I also have some good news to report. I've sent lots of emails and lots of thank yous out, and I'll say them again. Thanks to our staff and also to council for their advocacy on our legislative platform items. For our top 3 legislative asks, we got full funding for our Wood Lake Nature Center new building at $12 million. We also have the ability to bring a local sales tax ask to the voters. And we also made progress. There was no bill, but we made progress on local flexibility for EMS. I wanted to thank Representative Howard and Senator Wickland. They are very responsive. And not only that, they work hard and they work smart. So they're very successful in their advocacy for Richfield. And I feel really lucky to have them as our legislators. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move. Oh, go ahead. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to ask, as is often the case in even a normal legislative session, and I think especially this one, there has been a lot that has happened even just in the last week. And I imagine several of the things are related to not our top priorities, but the farther down ones. Is that something that Anne or any of the other staff who've been most directly relating with the legislature could make a summary of sometime over the next month as people get a chance to actually read all of what's in some of these big bills that passed at the end?
Yes, and we're collecting reports from League of Minnesota Cities, Metro Cities. I'm hopeful to attend an event. And so, yes, we will start summarizing those and putting together some estimates for some of the other bills that will impact the city.
Thank you.
All right, are there other questions? All right, then we will move on to claims and payroll.
I would move claims and payroll.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the claims and payroll. Are there any questions? All right, all in favor of approving claims and payroll, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we've approved the claims and payroll. Next, we'll turn to hats off to hometown hits. Councilmember Whalen.
Thank you, Mayor. I also was going to lift up the strong legislative work, I think especially given, also wanted to lift up our work session immediately before this, focused on prioritizing actions within our climate action plan. And so any residents who are listening, I know we got a fair amount of feedback around sustainability-related measures when the strategic plan came out, which did not yet have identified what within our climate action plan would be the top priorities. Now we're starting that conversation, I believe, the next 3 weeks or so between the Sustainability Commission and the next council meeting, as well as any feedback we get from residents. We'll weigh in on that. And so would encourage folks who are curious about that to listen to the recording from tonight's work session once that's available, or look at the presentation that's on the same page as our agendas. But especially wanted to highlight some wins on the sustainability front. I know after years of our transit system operating at very low funding or even a deficit, there's a new plan to raise revenue by, I believe, almost $500 million a year across the metro for transit, which is very exciting on a variety of fronts, but including the sustainability front. And then also around $1 billion of climate investments across a whole variety of things. And so there's a list of 50 plus things I'm excited about from this legislative session, but wanted to highlight those since I think in our work session we talked about how devastating climate change will be if we are not taking robust action. And so I'm excited that all levels of government continue to take that more seriously.
Thank you. Councilmember Christensen.
Yes, I'd like to give a hats off to the Richfield Leadership Network that we had an event this past week at the community center. It brought together a wide variety of community members, leaders, business owners, all getting together and really reflecting on who is our neighbor, what is community, and what we can do to bring Richfield together as one.
Thank you. Councilmember Troutman.
Thank you, Mayor. I feel like my heart is overflowing with gratefulness for Richfield and Team Richfield this week. There's just been so many opportunities that I've seen volunteers and community members show up in community. We just had, it's now I think 2 weeks ago, but we had the Richfield Foundation wine event. Tickets sold out, just overflowing with folks that wanted to connect and support community. A lot of volunteers come together. The Richfield Foundation funds, almost everything, everyone that's up to righteousness in Richfield, and so appreciate them. It's warm. It's soccer season. Just seeing all the coaches, all the families, all the people that volunteer, so our kids have an opportunity to connect with each other. It was just incredible, and we don't always lift up other electeds, but really Michael Howard and Senator Wiklund really hit it out of the park for Richfield. I also want to add to that our staff and our mayor, who spent a lot of time advocating and telling Richfield's story, now recently at the legislature, but also at the federal level. And so we appreciate our Congress member, Ilhan Omar, who visited multiple occasions to Wood Lake and really advocated for Wood Lake, and for all the senators that came and visited Wood Lake, because many of them did. And Senator Wiklund and Representative Howard told that story. Mayor, great job. Staff, Director Markle, everybody who's been telling the story of Richfield and doing that really effectively. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. I would like to echo those comments. And I also want to give kudos to Chief Henthorn. I was flipping through the channels and watching the legislative session, and I saw you in the bill signing for the public safety bill, and I know you've been over at the legislature a lot, testifying on things to do to make our community safer, and the governor acknowledged that by having you speak at the bill signing ceremony. So thank you for representing Richfield. And I also want to thank all of the rest of the staff. There have been a lot of community members that have weighed in, fellow council members. Everybody was working together, and I think we saw the fruition of all of that, of people working in community and working together. And so that was really a great thing to see. And I do want to thank our legislators, Representative Howard and Senator Wicklund, because they did go to bat for Richfield in a big way, and we appreciate it. The other members of the council have talked about some of the great events that have been happening in the past couple of weeks. I want to highlight some things that are coming up. So on Saturday at 3 p.m., it'll be the second year that Richfield is going to be participating in the Flags for Fort Snelling. And there's been an organizing of an honor roll of motorcyclists. So it's kicking off Memorial Weekend. And so we will be over in the Ice Arena parking lot, and then our public safety staff is going to be escorting this motorcade of veterans that are on their motorcycles going over to do the flags at Fort Snelling. So if you are around on Saturday afternoon, they're going to be going over and starting from the parking lot, heading over to Fort Snelling, and they'll return via 66th Street. So come on out and line 66th Street to salute the riders and the veterans that they're honoring. The second Memorial Day event is on the actual Memorial Day, and it's at the Honoring All Veterans Memorial at 6429 Portland Avenue. And people can park at the American Legion. And at 2 p.m., there's going to be a ceremony there in honor of Memorial Day and those that have sacrificed for our country. The ceremony will start at 2 p.m. with a flyover of a T6 Thunder, and then the veterans' names engraved since last year will be unveiled, and the guest speaker is Scott Egger, the president of the National POW MIA Riders Association, and also the Civil Air Patrol cadets from the 130th Composite Squadron will perform the POW MIA ceremony. The event is free. It's held rain or shine, and please bring your own chair. If it does start to storm, it will move over to the picnic shelter where the farmers market usually takes place. So thank you to everyone who helped with all of that. And is there any other comments that anyone wishes to make? All right, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? We stand adjourned.